Boston, yet another blue city considering allowing non-U.S. citizens to vote in local elections. Said the immigrants live and work in the city. What's the problem with allowing them to vote on local issues and candidates, Luke?
Yeah, well, this is where this was going all along, Greg. The Democrats were not incentivized to fix our illegal immigration problem because they wanted them on the voter rolls. They know that their propensity to go and vote for Democrats is far higher than they would turn out for Republicans. And I believe that that does such a disservice to the people who are going through the legal process correctly and applying and following the law in order to get here in the United States. But if you're trying to come here from another country and you see that it's just far more easier to come over illegally than legally, then which option are you going to choose? It also enables the cartels. We've talked about this every time we've talked about the border. It basically augments their human trafficking and drug smuggling operations down at the southern border. So it is not fair to the millions of people who have applied and want to come over to our country legally to give non-citizens and illegal immigrants the rights that the people who are going through the correct process want to have once they get to the end of that process. And you know, I have sat in ceremonies where they have naturalization ceremonies, and the looks on the faces of the people that come through legally, they are beaming. They are so proud to be an American. I want to help more people like that. I don't want to augment what the cartels are doing at the southern border.
Exactly. Let's stay with the border. 4,500 illegal immigrants cross the Del Rio sector in Texas. They will now arrest anyone caught entering the United States as not using a legal port of entry into our country. I want you to listen to the mayor of Chicago's opinion of Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
The governor of Texas needs to take a look in the mirror of the chaos that he is causing for this country. This is not just a Chicago dynamic. He is attacking our country.
Not a word mention of the countless illegal immigrants being flown to his city by Joe Biden. So it sounds like Chicago's mayor is complaining about his sanctuary city being used as a sanctuary city. Luke, do you think this new decision? Right. What do you think of this, the mayor?
Well, it's laughable because the fact is the Chicago mayor is pointing out the fact that the New York mayor is unable to sustain the influx of illegal immigrants that are coming over. And it's essentially where reality meets their talking points. And basically, Mayor Adams was turning to Biden and saying, like, where is all your help coming from this? This is your problem. And so a lot of conservatives were saying, look, he's coming over to the side. Maybe Governor Abbott and some of the other governors need to start shifting where they're sending all of the buses. Maybe they don't need to send it to New York for such a period of time. They can send it over to Chicago a little bit. But I also don't like the fact that these are also human lives that we're talking about. These are people who have to be treated as humans. I mean, the fact is that the border crisis has not been solved by Democrats, and as a result, the Democrats have created a humanitarian crisis at our border and in our major cities. And so ultimately, reality is going to collide with their talking points, and it seems like that's happening right now.
It is happening. Now, Representative Dan Crenshaw has introduced a bill that strips federal funding from universities requiring DEI statements. The Texas congressman said this, quote, "Make no mistake, the DEI bureaucracy is directly responsible for a toxic campus culture that separates everyone into oppressor versus oppressed." So is diversity, equity, and inclusion the heart of the woke mind virus on our college campus?
I believe, and unfortunately, the people who are submitting their applications to come to these colleges are not all getting in based off of their merit as well. They're having other considerations come into play because they have to meet these diversity quotas amongst the colleges. And I think when you have a woke mindset like this, it leads to what we're seeing on our college campuses with the rise of anti-Semitism. I mean, these college students are going in and they're highly malleable. They're sitting under liberal professors and they're coming out with anti-Israel and anti-Semitic animosity. That should not be happening. And I believe that that's just another symptom of the woke culture on our campuses.
Yeah, good for the state of Oklahoma jumping in and just doing something better. Real quick, the Washington Post has uncovered a decades-old bribery investigation which caught Joe Biden's brother James on a wiretap and highlights the first brother's business dealings. The bribery case also involved a well-known Mississippi trial lawyer and was not related to the Bidens, but the unearthed secret FBI recordings the Post reviewed show the younger Biden's business affairs intersecting with his older brother's political career going way back, even as Joe Biden often tried to distance himself. One example of this involves the attorney under surveillance who pled guilty over plans to bribe a judge. He paid James Biden $100,000 in 1988 for advice on how to get a bill passed in Congress that would force tobacco companies to make billion-dollar payouts. Then Senator Biden first opposed the bill, then gave his support. The attorney now says he would not likely have hired James Biden if he had not been the senator's brother. Mike?
Greg, CEO of Masonboro Strategies. Luke Ball joins us once again. Luke, so does this FBI wiretap of James Biden in a past bribery case speak to the current investigation oversight and judiciary are conducting on Hunter and Joe Biden?
Well, we don't know for a fact, but it is very possible because I believe that the corruption begins somewhere and then seeps through the decades sometimes. And so it's possible that they started out looking at what Hunter was doing and then followed the connections to Joe and then started working their way back to see just who else in the family was involved and how far back it went. So we don't know exactly, but it is highly possible that they are uncovering an enormous amount of evidence because it seems that every time they go looking for something, they find it. It's like an Easter egg hunt of corruption. So I think that it's time for all this information to come out into the public because we're in the waning days of a Republican majority right now. Hopefully we get it again, but we don't know that for a fact, and the American people deserve all the answers.
They do. They deserve the truth. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania continues to baffle liberal Democrats with his stances on major issues. He offered this take on the sale of U.S. Steel, Japan's largest steelmaker.
And I just have to say it's absolutely outrageous that they have sold themselves to a foreign nation and a company. Can't do that. Steel is always about security as well, too. And I am committed to doing anything I can do from using my platform or my position in order to block this.
Luke Fetterman supports Israel and stands against selling off major U.S. companies to foreign owners. Are you surprised at the positions he is taking on these two matters?
Well, he shrunk from his progressive left-wing stance that he had during the campaign, and I believe that he's adopted more of a slightly bipartisan and populist stance on some of the issues. There's still many, many things that we won't agree with him on, but I think that it is good that on some issues we can find common ground, but all the way from J.D. Vance to John Fetterman, this means American jobs, and these senators are trying to keep those jobs here in the United States of America. We don't want to outsource our steel. We don't want to outsource our jobs or production or things of that nature, because that has real life consequences whether you have a D beside your name or an R beside your name. It's all about the folks who are at home and those kitchen table issues that really matter to the American people.